Some formulas we will know. Total asset. What is total asset? Fixed asset plus total asset na fixed asset plus current asset. This is total asset. Total liability na current liability plus debt, that is total liability. Working capital. What is the working capital na? So I want to have some money for running this business. Then whatever, there will be current asset will be there, and there will be current liability will be there. What is current asset? Debtors, inventory, these kind of things will be asset. Cash in hand, cash in bank are current asset. Current liability, provision expenses, creditors, these are all current liability. When you subtract working capital, current asset minus current liability, you will get working capital. Then what is net worth? Net worth is usually share capital plus reserves and surplus. So net worth, book value, shareholders fund and equity, these all want to know. Share capital plus reserve surplus minus preliminary expenses. Sir, preliminary expenses in asset side is there na. You should subtract it so that you will get what is the net worth. Then total asset minus total liability is also net worth. Capital employed. What is capital employed? So some money is there put in by the owner. What are the share capital plus reserve surplus plus debt minus preliminary expenses? What? Yeah, someone has invested something to get this business running. What are the such investment? So share capital plus reserve surplus plus debt also will be there. I got loan from the business, that is also share capital minus preliminary expense. Start this business. Before starting the company, I had done some expenses. That expenses, preliminary expense, to be removed off. Sometimes equity plus debt is also working capital. A total asset minus current liability. Total asset minus current liability is also capital employed. Gross profit, where you get gross profit. So cost of goods sold by sales, what are so cost of goods, so sales minus cost of goods sold by total sales, what are 100. Gross profit by sales, what are you get GP ratio. Cost of goods sold, how much cost of goods sold we are sold now. Cost of goods sold by sales into 100 you get. So 100 minus GP also you get. Operating profit, what is my operating profit? Earning before interest and tax divided by sales into 100. So after administration expenses, I will have one thing na. So interest kum tax kum before, what is the amount that divided by sales into 100. Operating ratio, some ratio is there, sir. What is a ratio? So operating ale sales இல்ல மேலே what we want to add, cost of goods sold plus operating expenses. Cost of goods sold na before profit, purchase minus purchase without plus purchase at cost, what we sold. So sales minus cost of goods, profit is equal to cost of goods sold plus operating profit, operating expenses divided by sales is operating ratio. Net profit ratio, net profit ratio no on what sales net profit divided by sales is equal to net profit ratio. Debt ratio or debt to capital employed, debt divided by equity plus debt. So out of the total equity plus debt, how much is the debt? See, equity ratio or debt, equity to capital employed ratio. Capital employed na, sir, I equity ratio na what? So I have equity. Out how much and percentage of equity on this? So கடன் அதிகமாக வாங்கியிருக்கானா, I put more money and you can see equity or 1 minus debt plus equity ratio also you will get that. Debt equity ratio is equal to, debt ratio is where equity ratio different, but debt equity ratio is debt divided by equity. Asset turnover ratio, what is asset turnover ratio? So total sale this year, what is a sale divided by total asset. I'll add all the asset side into 100. It is how much with this asset, how many times I able to make a turnover. You can see fixed asset turnover ratio, total sales divided by fixed asset into 100. Current asset turnover ratio, current, so sales divided by current asset. So how on the say how many times the current asset I made a sales, you can see. Inventory turnover ratio, cost of goods sold divided by stock. Why inventory turnover ratio na, sir, I having inventory, okay, so stock on that, what is the amount of cost of goods sold I sold, 2 into 100. Debtors turnover ratio, so credit sales, so debtor, who is debtor? I gave credit sale. Out of the credit sales, total sales, how much debtors are currently holding, that into 100 debtors turnover ratio. Asset to sales ratio is how much asset, total asset divided by sales. First one the sales to a fixed asset to Here asset to sales, interest coverage என்னன்னா earning before interest tax divided by interest. Why they asking this? So out of the total interest I want to profit, how many times I can pay interest, I can see interest and fixed dividend coverage ratio. So profit after tax plus interest divided by interest plus preference dividend. If you put now, you will see how many times the interest, how much times the preference dividend what I want to pay, because the company is qualified 5 times, 2 times positive one, very good. It should not be in decimal numbers, it should be more than one. Capital gearing ratio. What is capital gearing ratio? Debt to plus preference capital. So capital gearing ratio, debt plus preferential share capital divided by equity share capital plus resources surplus. So equity share capital all divided by resources surplus. Total how many capital gearing ratio, debt to kadan, preference I definitely need to give dividend every year. So debt to plus preference they are divided by equity shares by resource surplus. Lower the better. Why? Because if it is less, na, we'll say so I having lower debt, so I have my responsibility is very less. Such a way we can think.